Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is another Channels Beams Google Hangout, and I am Victor Matthias. Today we'll be beaming our searchlight rather on the performance of the Super Eagles at the just concluded World Cup. Ben, I'm sure you were following from your location as well as Muiwa. But
Yeah,
okay, so we crashed out at the second round, despite so much expectations. What are your thoughts? I mean, looking at the performances of the Eagles. Ben.
oh my God. Okay, I think so far I think they've tried anyway. They've given their best. You can only give what you have. You can't give what you don't. I think we have some lapses there, and we have we saw some disappointment in the team. Some players we're looking up to didn't really perform very well, and but sometimes when you talk of a game like this, we have 4 years to prepare for this tournament, and we have enough time. I think there are one of the problems I think we are having is that we don't really learn from other people. We seem not to learn the good thing. We easily learn the bad thing of other, the bad side of other thing. That's what we learn. We don't learn the good thing. Looking at the World Cup, I mean, we should learn from other coaches. Look at the Netherlands coach. I mean, the German coach, the Spanish coach. I mean, these are teams we need to learn from. What is it that they are doing that we are not doing? Where are they getting things right that we are not getting things right? So far, Kesha has tried anyway. And there's something about Nigerians who like this fire brigade approach. You want a messiah that will come and do a miracle overnight. But sometimes miracles doesn't happen. You need to work for a miracle before it comes. We need to work for a miracle. And we just want like magic, just come and do a magic. And now I'm hearing that Keshi has resigned. He has not resigned. I don't really know the real actual the fact the truth about the matter. But the issue is this. This team have gone a long way. This was the same team he went to the Nations Cup with at the first time, at the first stage when he went to the Nations Cup, there was no adequate preparation for him, even that he was going to reach the finals. And here we are, he went to the finals and with luck on our side, he won the cup. We said, okay, take us to the World Cup. Well, we played the qualifiers right from the qualifier. We had a very good qualifying match. We qualified freely. There was no trouble. Now the time for the World Cup came and it's left for him now to do his job anyway. But there's some certain things you will do behind closed doors. We don't know the issue of the NFA, the NFF. There are a lot of politics going in there. If at least I was opportune to hear from someone who works in there, a lot of politics is being played in there. And when you play this kind of politics in that kind of well, I don't know what to expect from the coach. What you see in there is what will come out in the pitch. So I don't know the kind of magic the coach is going to perform. So we just have to learn how to keep this coach and make him learn from other mistakes. I think we need to give him more chance. So far, so good. The team, each of their game, the first game they had a draw. The second game with Argentina, we played good football. Argentina won with experience. We played our third game, and we won. We won with a goal near we qualified. And when we played with France, we played good football. Our football was okay in the midfield. We had the whole we took charge of the game, but we had problems. We had problems with in the striking force, and it was like but France being an old team, a World Cup winning team, and they won us based on that experience. So we just need to look at we need to give Keshi a chance. Leave him. The only thing let him make we should just give him a free hand. Let him do his job. Organize
All
trainings for him. That's the only thing I think we can do. If we
all
keep
right.
changing coaches, it will not help us.
All right, Ben. Thanks for your assessment there. I mean, general assessment, of course. Muyiwa, you just heard Ben. I mean, he spoke about looking at the whole thing. He even mentioned Spain that crashed out in the first round. Why are we not getting it right?
Well, I think Nigeria's sojourn at the 2014 World Cup was a direct reflection of its homegrown problems and the politics associated with meritocracy. Um, it's not something that has to do with the coach alone. It's something that everybody has to take the blame. Keshi went to the World Cup with the boys he felt could perform, but he knew deep down within him that that squad had a problem. He knew there were injury concerns with that team, He knew he had problems with the NFF. He didn't deem it right, probably because he felt it wasn't going to be a good thing to start raising a eyebrow about management deficiencies and all that, or management issues with having with the NFF before the World Cup kick started. So he had his own problems. He had problems with interpersonal relationship with the leadership of the Nigerian Football Federation. He had problems with team selection. He had problems deep down within himself as the technical handler or the manager of the team. He had technical deficiencies himself. He didn't seek help before the World Cup. There's a difference between you going to play an African Cup of Nations and you going to play a World Cup. So when he got to the main stage where he was supposed to shine, he did it. And I'll give you just two examples. The game between Iran and Nigeria was won on the bench. You had the coach of Iran, Carlos Queiroz, who was fantastic, who understood what it meant to technically seal a team and make it impregnable for you to pass through their midfield. And he did just that. Iranian teams had 15 out of their 23-man squad playing in the local Iranian league. Each time I hear about Iran, the only thing I know about Iran is all about nuclear weapons and nuclear bombs. I've never heard of Iran as a football playing nation, but they had a coach who was sound. And we played a draw. It was the worst performance so far from Nigeria. And there was a Bosnia and Herzegovina, which we managed to defeat. We didn't defeat Bosnia because we were better. We defeated because luck was on our side. The boys put up some elements of maturity and focus, and the referee was kind of in support of whatever position we pushed on that day, and we won. And then during Argentina, we were slightly better off. We saw some more purpose. We saw some more direction. We lost, but it was a good match. But on the day when it mattered most was the game between Nigeria and France. The French team, again, the game was won on the bench. The French coach saw knew that Onazi was a problem for his team. The best thing there to do was to take out Onazi. Tactically, he did that. There wasn't any problems with Onazi going out. When Onazi left, you would expect a sound coach who understood the technicalities of the game to then seal up the midfield and bring in more replacements. But you cannot blame Keshi again. He doesn't have the material to prosecute that match. He himself didn't have the required experience at that level. He couldn't match up with the coach of the French, who had some better technical know-how, who knew that Onazi was the problem, who took Onazi out without issues, and then we lost. So it's a combination of so many factors. Organization-wise, we weren't prepared for the World Cup. We wouldn't have gone further than we did. Technical-wise, I don't think our bench was that sound. And then the quality or the caliber of players that went to that World Cup itself is suspect. So we tried. We wasn't taking anything away from those boys, but we only had to stop where our energy or our resources pushed us to. And I think the second round that we got to was all that we could achieve. If we had attempted to go further than that, it probably would have been catastrophic. And I'm glad they crashed out honorably, but I'm sure the NFF now has a lot of things to do. Like my friend said, all they need to do is to retrain Keshi because he's deficient, and then make sure that Keshi himself needs to be sincere when he is selecting his team, so that he goes with the best hands to the tournament. Nobody goes to a World Cup with injured players. It doesn't happen that way. The players he went to, some of them got injured and he had those problems. So I think we need to look back into how we started, how we got to where we are, and decide on how we should move forward. And I think Keshi should be retained, but Keshi needs to be retrained if Nigeria is going to go for the football or world football.
All right, Muyiwa. As you said, Keshi needs to be retained, but he needs to be retrained. All right, Ben, I'll come back to you. I mean, you just spoke about experience, about the French team being experienced. But if you look at the fact that those players are relatively new to the international stage, I mean, in terms of experience in playing the World Cup, the European Championships, and all that, just like our team. But if you're to bank this on experience, I think we're almost at the same level. But at some point, we just didn't get it right. I mean, luck, Muyiwa just said luck was just not on our side. But again, I'll just individually, how would you rate these players? I mean, right back, striker. How would you rate these players? I mean, that's the French and the Nigerian national team players.
You mean the bench, our bench, right?
Yeah, our bench and even the squad itself.
Actually, the players on the bench, I don't really know much of them. The only player I think I could say was this guy that came in. This guy that plaited his hair. We were even laughing at him. We're calling him Flavor over here. When he came in, we called him Flavor. This is not a place where you come to sing music. Go and sing music. When that change he did was, I don't think anything that guy played. I begin to wonder where he picked that guy from. And one would even ask question, where is Victor Mba and the rest of them, two key players who played in the Nations Cup, and he dropped them. And one would ask. So I think the team so far so good. They have done what they could do. Mikel fell short of expectation in the midfield so far. I mean, I was listening to someone who was also talking about it on channels television. He said Mikel is just like a Hummer with a small engine in it. The glory of Chelsea is just, that is what is moving him. Well, and we fell short of expectation. And I think now that we have those boys who will be going out, I don't know if Mikel will have a feature in the national team again. But Yobo is certain that Yobo is leaving the team, so it's left for Stephen Keshi or whosoever will be the coach. But the greatest problem we're going to have is sacking him, letting him go. That is the greatest problem we're going to have, because he has started this job. He knows how the team is right now. So it's left for us to send him to training, invite other coaches, other world-class coaches to come and train, not just only him, including our own including our own football league, the coaches we have. The coaches we have coaching the various leagues we have. I think they need to organize good training for them, and so that they can also pick up from there. But the team so far, I think I will rate them a bit fair. Their game, they played maturely. They didn't play. I think they were. I think there's a kind of oneness. Nobody played for self glory. So that was what I saw in that team, and Keshi was able to handle them, one on one, and they could understand each other, and they knew they were playing for their country. I think for the first time, I've not seen any of them dragging for allowance or whatsoever. So all the players were matured, unlike what happened in the Cameroonian team, where you even see both players, fighting. So I think that alone, there was a good conduct in that team. So I think is something good. It's something we have to commend. So all we just have to do is, if we can see if they can call him back, and maybe make some negotiation and reduce some terms and conditions, so that he can handle that thing, continue from where he has stopped, and I think we'll go further. But the team has been fair enough.
All right, Ben, you just raised some issues, but I'll put those issues back to Muiwa. Muiwa, Ben spoke about issues like bragging about allowances and
Oh,
yeah.
I think Ben probably didn't get his facts right. For me, there's no basic difference between the Nigerian team, the Ghanaian team, and the Cameroonian team. It's all a whole set of very disciplined set of players. 24 hours before the match between Nigeria and France, the Nigerian team, they didn't train. Was it 24, 48 hours? I think it was 2 days to the match. They skipped training for 1 day because of allowances. And they were arguing that if they go into the match against France and they probably lost the match or lose the match, the government wouldn't pay them again. That again tells you the kind of organization you have in the NFF and the kind of trust players of the national team have in their managers or in their management. And they didn't trust the NFF. By extension, they didn't trust the Nigerian government, which again, if you want to rephrase or recap, you would begin to see a linkage between that and what happens at home. Nobody trusts anybody. The citizens doesn't trust the government. The government doesn't trust its citizens. So we had those issues. The team was extremely indisciplined. The only difference between the Nigerian team and the Ghanaian team was that, or the Cameroonian team, was that in the case of Nigeria, they didn't allow it to go out of hand, and they knew it was going to be a problem. And somebody who had his senses working nipped that crisis in the bud, and it was controlled. And Keshi came on board and said, well, it wasn't just about allowances, and there was no issue about allowances in camp, and everybody was fine. But it was there as a problem. One other thing I think was wrong with that team was this lack of patriotism or enthusiasm about you wearing the colors of your national of your country or of your national team. I didn't see the kind of motivation, the kind of patriotism, the kind of enthusiasm, the kind of commitment, the kind of responsibility I saw in the Colombian national team, in the Nigerian national team. The Greek team that went to that World Cup didn't even have any issues that has to do with allowances. As a matter of fact, the money the FIFA was supposed to pay them, which was $75,000, they volunteered it for further development of football in their country. I'm not saying the Eagles should do it free of charge, but I'm saying that there comes a time when country should come first. No matter how bad your country is, we must try as much as possible not to expose its rot at such a very, very popular view or what stage. And it was a problem, and the team had that problem, and they couldn't, I mean, overcome it. It was there. The NFF itself had its own problems of corruption. Those boys probably thought that the NFF had collected the money and somebody had fixed the money in the usual way in an account and wasn't willing to pay them. Those boys probably would have felt somebody was trying to reap from where they didn't sow. So you had those combination of factors coming into play. So I think going forward or moving forward, issues like allowances, issues like proper training for the World Cup should be put in place long before the World Cup kickstarts. And we cannot just get to a world stage like that and start embarrassing ourselves in public. We mustn't let the whole world know that Nigeria is so bad that they cannot conduct themselves for just 4 weeks in front of international media. I think we must look into that. Organization is important, and commitment on the part of the players also matters. And I want to see more fighting Eagles and more patriotic Eagles than what we saw in Brazil. I think that really isn't where it should be at the moment.
All right, Muiwa. So would you say Keshi was wrong to drop some of the players he didn't take to the World Cup, talking about Mba and D-Lights?
Well, again, the problem with Keshi, with all due respect, he's done a lot for Nigeria. He's very experienced. He deserves all the accolades he's getting, but I think he missed it. He goofed a little bit. He had personal issues with some players. He wanted to stamp his authority against what would have been collective good. He had crises with some particular players, and no matter how good those players were, he wasn't interested in taking them to the World Cup. And I'll give you 2 instances. Somebody like Kalu Uche. Kalu Uche was on top of his game in the last season that just ended. He didn't take Kalu Uche to the World Cup probably because he felt Kalu Uche doesn't play to instructions. Keshi wasn't going to take us to the World Cup if there was no outcry from Nigerians. Mba didn't go to the World Cup. I personally do not like Mba's style of play, but I think Mba is even better than some people that went to the World Cup. Mba for me was better than Gabriel Ruben. Those are issues that he needs to look into. If he wants to be the coach of Nigeria's national team, he must know that the only unifying factor for Nigerians is football. And he must at least be able to, temper emotions with rationality. Where you have your best players, all you need to do is to take them and enforce discipline in camp. That's all that matters. There isn't any play anywhere in the world where coaches have a perfect relationship with their players. Management entails you to be able to identify a problem, and you don't shoot that problem at the wrong place. You attack that problem where it's supposed to be attacked without necessarily causing any confusion. He costed us that ticket because that midfield after Onazi was injured was empty. Mikel for me was absent at the World Cup. Mikel never went to the World Cup. Mikel was too full of himself. Mikel didn't put himself in the position that I wanted him to be. He didn't take charge of that match. 2 things could be accountable. He probably didn't believe or see any reason why he should play for Nigeria the way he plays for Chelsea. Again, you bring that back to patriotism. So when Onazi left, who else did we have? If he took a player like, say, maybe an Mba to the World Cup, he probably would have played better. If Babatunde Michael wasn't injured, he probably would have fitted more into that role. But there was no bench. He only had a first 11. So all other teams were going to the World Cup with 22 players. Nigeria went to the World Cup with just 11 players. So he couldn't perform magic. And it was his blame. It was his problem. He needs to understand that. He needs to admit it. And he needs to move forward from that point if Nigeria should make progress at the world stage.
All right, Muiwa, some beautiful points you're raising there. But let me come back to you, Ben. How do you think we can just move forward? I mean, looking at all these lapses that Muiwa made mention of in his last submission, how do you think we can move forward?
Because you are no longer in the World Cup, so we just have to learn our lessons this time around. But the greatest problem we'll have this time is to let Keshi go. It's going to be a very big problem for us because any new coach that is coming in is coming to start from scratch, and he may still fall back on those players Keshi used. He will still go to call Mikel as long as they are available playing for that. He will still go to call Osaze, but the issue is that we should just leave him. So because if a new coach comes in now, if he starts from, I bet you we may not touch any trophy till the next 4 or 5 years again, including the Nations Cup. Maybe we'll end up in the quarterfinals and probably trust Nigeria. Once you cannot reach the semi-final, before you know you're sacked. That one is certain. You see, so we just have to let Stephen Keshi be, and the best thing, send him for training, train him, both him, the officials. They need to go for proper training, and then we begin to see how he can build a good team. I mean, we have under 17 that has come up. We have the under 20 that has played. I mean, I don't know where after playing those tournaments, every player just The reason why we are still hearing the name of Mikel was because Chelsea came and picked him up. Tai was the same thing. Apart from those two players in that team that played the 2003, 2004 age grade competition, nobody else. So that is just one of the problems we are having. Keeping boys together is a very big problem for us, and we are not. And our local league is not even helping matters again. Sometimes when you watch the kind of football we play in our local league, you begin to marvel: is this football or what looks like football? So we need to do it. We need to give Keshi that chance. We need to send him for training so that he will know how to pick boys. He will know how to scout for boys, go for boys. When you see people who are hungry to play for the national team, because wearing the national team jersey is a pride. It's a very when you see the US team playing, other teams playing, like, when you put on that jersey, it's a pride. You need to fight for a jersey in the club, not because you think you go to your club side, you play on bench, and when you come to the national team, you must at least one of the rules is that you have to be a first team player in your team. You have to be a first team player. If you're not a first team player in your club side, just forget about the national team, because when you're a first team player, you're fit. They can call at any time, you will match in. But when you sit on the bench and whenever there's a kind of national football going on competition, you just come up and you pick up the number 10 jersey, you pick up the number 9 jersey, you think it's your birthright. It won't go well for us. We just need to look for players who play for regularly. It doesn't matter if you're playing in Kano Pillars, as long as you're playing regularly in your team, at least you can make an impact. There's something you're playing from bench, or it doesn't. Let's begin to learn something from these teams, the Germans. Let's begin to learn something from the Spanish. Even though Spain they crashed out honorably from the group stage, but they were not making noise. The coach knew his problems, and I'm sure he will fix it up. And I bet you see what they will do in Euro. Euro is coming up very soon, and they will fix it up very soon. And nobody's hearing the coaches will be fired or anything. They just were left quietly, and nobody's hearing of them. So we need to learn. We need to learn from Brazil also. Though Brazil have some kind of flock, coming to them. We need to learn from other things. When we don't learn, we don't grow. We must have to learn. The problem with us is that we don't learn. We just want a quick magic, come to there and you just make it quick, and we can win the trophy. It doesn't work that way. We need to work for it. That's all I can say.
All right, Bernard, let me just hold you to your own words. You said we need to copy countries like Spain, Germany, and co. If you look at those countries, they have players from their own local leagues, right?
Yeah.
All right, and you also made mention of our own local league. If you look at the level of our local league, the level of their own local league, and the players that are playing in these two leagues, do you think we can be able to match countries like them in terms of now development?
Yeah, there's difference between club side football and national kind of World Cup issue. You can't bring club side football here. Like what happened to Argentina in 2004. Everybody with the likes of Aguero. In fact, even the coach was even confused in selecting players because he had top players flying all over Europe. So there's a difference between club side and national team. So when you're picking players individually, it means you know what they can do as a player. What makes a player is what you can do individually as your own when you're with the ball. What you can, the calculation you can give within a few seconds you have the ball. What you can do with it, and what you can do with your fellow teammate. That's what makes you a player, and how fast you are with the ball. So I think we can still pick, and that's the work of a coach. That is where how to pick those boys out, single-handed select them out from. We have boys who are playing good football. We have to. That is the problem. Selecting those guys out from them and putting them together, forming a team for the nation. That is what we want right now.
All right, Ben. Hello, Muiwa. Muiwa.
Yeah, I can hear you, Victor.
All right, so I'm coming to you now. I just want us to look at the fact that some players, of course, of African descent now have moved to Europe to go and play. What do you think of that? Because if you look at the fact that you have some Sami Khedira, you have Mesut Ozil, you have a lot of players that are of African descent playing for European countries. how do you think, how does that bode well? How does it bode for our own, for the development of African football?
Well, you have to look at it from two different angles. Look at it from the perspective of the economic and social advantages it's got to do with the players moving out. Those players are perhaps moving out of frustration that there isn't any glaring future or any secured future for them if they continue to play for their country. So, to the players moving out, it's a good thing. But to the country where they are moving away from, it's a major loss. And you again ask yourself this question: why are they moving now? Is it born out of selfish reasons, or it's born out of disorganization or bad management that you have in most African footballing nations? So you would find out that many a times, why you could argue that some elements of such moves can be attributed to some selfish ambitions on the part of the players. The majority of that fault, the bulk of that problem, has to do with the local federation, local football organization, who do not care about those players. They don't give a damn what happens to you when you're injured. Very recently, I was monitoring Keshi when he went to pay a visit to the president in Asoro, or Asoro Villa. He was arguing now, begging the presidency to help take care of the treatment of Babatunde Michael and Onazi. How bad or how worse can it get? I mean, a sensible, responsible federation or government would know that if a player gets injured on national duty, the player gets injured on national assignment, it is a responsibility, it's your duty to take care of such players. So when you see players moving out from migrating from one country to another, it's a function of them not believing in their country. And I wouldn't blame them totally. If your country hasn't done anything for you, I mean, there's no basis for you to think you should really kill yourself on behalf of the country that doesn't care about you. It happens to most African players because most African countries are not that protective, are not that responsible when it comes to taking care of their players. And while I will argue that it's not a good thing, I also think that you cannot fault me for deciding to use my talent. Because, I mean, in some place where I think I will be more satisfied. It's an individual decision. If you feel it's not worth dying for your country, then it's your right. What I would then be against is you cannot play for Ghana or play for Germany or play for Brazil, and then when you die, somebody brings your corpse to Nigeria. If you play for Ghana or Germany or Brazil, when you die, let them Brazil. It's a case of our leaders also who steal so much money from this country. They take those monies to Luxembourg, they take it to Switzerland, they take it to the US, they take it to Paris. When they want to get treated in hospitals, they visit those hospitals in those Western countries. Their children wants to go to school, they take them to those countries. But when they die, even when they die outside Nigeria, they still bring their corpse back home. So you must then be able to situate that within the confines of what these players are doing. If you choose not to play for Nigeria, good luck. If you choose not to play for your country, good luck. But when you have problems, you must not then return your problems back to the country you rejected. And I'll give another instance before I round up. Look at the case of this young man who Keshi took to the World Cup. The guy who plays for Newcastle, Amiobi. At the peak of Amiobi's excellence, when Amiobi was super hot, he refused to play for Nigeria. If I were Keshi, no matter how brilliant or how defective my team was, no matter how brilliant Amiobi was, I would never take Amiobi to the World Cup. At that point when Nigeria needed him, when he had material left in him, he rejected Nigeria. So these are classic examples of players that shouldn't get near being called up for national assignments. But Keshi took Amiobi to the World Cup on the same issue I talked to you about. Keshi has some serious issues with ego. Keshi has some serious issues with decision. And he needs to own up to those facts. He needs to admit that he has made a mistake and he needs to correct it. So, by and large, when players leave a particular country for another country, it is a loss for the country they are living, particularly if the country is an African country. It might not be that much of a major game for the country they are going into because they have a well-advanced team, they have a well-set-up system, but maybe they play 1, 2, 3 years for that country, and then they become permanent citizens of that country, and then they have a card or a passport, and take them to 20, 25 countries free of charge. So they're looking at the economic advantage in switching nationalities, and I wouldn't blame them. If your country doesn't want to secure you, you must look for a means to secure yourself. It's called self-help. It's called survival. Your instincts as a human being must tell you it is the right thing to do. Where I would disagree with them is after then abandoning their country, if they then expect their country to do anything for them or for their families, I think we're going to have a major issue there. So it depends on the perspective you're looking at it from. So it's a two-way argument.
All right, Muiwa, thank you for your contribution there, and thank you for making so much clarifications on that. Ben, I'll just give you the benefit of doubt to say your last word just before we close this conversation.
Much of the things, but
I can't hear you. Can you come again, please?
we have to look in our football federation, what for Nigeria Football Federation, a lot of, because so much money has gone into that federation unaccounted for. I know, and if you look the kind of corruption going into that circle, that football house alone, you'll be so amazed and you'll be asking, the kind of money they budget for them, and from the Minister of Sports to the federation, from the is so outrageous. And when the player have injury and sustain any injury during a national assignment, they abandon him, and I don't know the reason why they will abandon that player. This has another way of affecting the players psyche, affecting players when they are coming for national duty, because it has a way of, because you won't play with your full mind. You're thinking, oh, if I should break my leg here, I'm going to lose maybe 2 months injury on my club side, and it's going to affect me, and all that. You have to also protect your own interests. In as much as you're playing for your own country, you want to protect your own interests, and so these are issues we really need to handle. But that NFA, the NFF, a lot need to be done there. A lot of sanitization need to be done in that house in order to put everything in order. Because if we must talk of national team, we must start from the top, starting from the president, the secretary general, and all of them. We need to do something about it, honestly, because the main problem we are having starts from the top, because they dictate for the coach. They will tell you what to do. To do every necessary compromise. If they have to compromise, you have to compromise with them. I mean, so if you're having misunderstanding with them, it has a way of affecting the team you assemble. What you see in the football pitch is what it has. That's what comes out from the top there. So if we don't accept, if those people say no, this guy is not going to play for this one is not going to play, no matter how good it is. And there's this issue you're having, who if you don't know anybody there, you don't play anything. That's one of the problem we are having. No matter how good you are in playing good football, if you don't know anybody in the glass house, in the NFF house, or you don't know a brother to the coach, or you can never be called. Except maybe you struggle on your own individual effort. You fly to Europe, maybe you pick up a club side, you start playing, and probably we start seeing you watching your games, and it becomes we just have to call this guy. But apart from that, these are some of the problems we are having, and it has a way of affecting our own football. If not, Nigeria is a very football nation. We are football loving people. Even despite everything here, we still love football. It's one game that unites the nation. So we just have to see what we can do to revive our own football, to make sure that that everybody comes to watch our football. And also in our own football league, you even need to count how many people that goes to watch football, our own local league in the country. Based on the economic situation of the country, it's affecting everything. When you go to watch football, you see people come there to smoke Indian hemp. I've got to Kano Pillars to watch football before, to watch that game, and what I saw is people smoking Indian hemps up there, rapping people. These are things, and you begin to ask, is this the same people you are coming to watch football? And once they lose, because of they've taken a lot of alcohol, they are high, and when they come out, they begin to break any car that is passing. If you're unlucky enough to go to walk in that business, break your windscreen. You just have to go with it. These are issues we need to look at. Look at Abba, any of Abba. The team is like, after their Nations Cup, after their CAF Champions League, the last time they won it, the team just tore apart. And although we're able to pick up Enyama from there, which is our own pride of the nation today, the goalkeeper, I think these are issues we need to do. The economy of the nation has a way of also affecting our own football. It is when you have food on your table that you can go to watch football. It is when you are okay that you can go to buy tickets to watch football. Is the security in the stadium okay for you to go and watch football? These are issues, we have to look at also. This is all I can say.
All right. So now, just in wrapping up this conversation, Muiwa, FIFA are threatening to ban Nigeria because of government interference in NFF. How do you see that playing out in the very near future?
I would like to see a situation where FIFA will actually ban Nigeria from football for at least 2 years, so I can afford us some opportunity to tidy our house or put our house in order. The rules are very clear. Article 17 of the FIFA rules did say, or does say, that you cannot take football matters to a court, or perhaps any court outside the court for arbitration. You cannot resolve we cannot resolve football issues in a regular court, and football shouldn't be mixed with politics. Our problem in this country is our inability to respect simple opinions and laws. And I think it's really a sad commentary on our state of being again as a nation. So it's going to affect us, if you ask me, positively, because if we get banned for 1-2 years, I think it would be a good thing for the Nigerian football because we probably will have some reorganization going on. But I doubt if that's going to happen. Nigerians are very, very interesting people. You'll be amazed at how quickly that issue will be resolved within the next few days. I understand the deadline is July the 8th, and I'm confident the NFF will be meeting today. There's been an extended Congress of the NFF that has been called in Abuja for July 5, today being Saturday in Nigeria. I'm confident it's going to be resolved. My worry is after the resolution of the crisis, will it affect the fortunes of the national team? Is it going to be resolved in favor of our own future as football lovers, or is it going to affect the fortunes of a few people that continue to hold that glass house to ransom? So we must look at it from different angles. My wish as an individual is for that ban to be effective, but unfortunately it might not. Nigeria would survive it. Let's hope that after that survival, we would see some serious organization in the NFF, and we also see a situation where Nigerian football can take its rightful place in international football. Nigeria is too big a nation to be going to the World Cup and crashing out in the round of 16. We've seen smaller teams with better organization doing well. And I think it's high time we just assume our right place in international football. It's not going to affect us the way I want it to, but all the same, I think it's a sad commentary on the way we manage our affairs in that country.
All right, Muyiwa. Ben, what do you have to say about that?
I think that's a threat. I've seen this threat has come before, and unfortunately they didn't ban us. And I'm sure they will resolve this issue. We have a way of resolving this issue quickly because you can't afford to miss another World Cup or maybe 2 years ban or any kind of thing. I'm sure they will resolve this. They will resolve the issue very well. But the issue is this: we have problem with our house. Honestly, we have a big problem with our house, and unless we put our house together, it is when your house is not in order. That is when the government will put eyes on it. So that is the problem we're having there. We need to put our house in order and develop our football. That's all I can say. But for this FIFA threat, I think this is a threat from FIFA. This is not the first time we're receiving this kind of threat, and I'm sure they won't want to rule Nigeria out from any, because if you're talking of African football, at least you should talk of Nigeria, you should talk of Cameroon, you should talk of Egypt and other countries. So you can't just move us out. It doesn't work. Just like saying France and Italy, England, it doesn't work. It won't work. It won't work. I'm very sure of that.
All right, Ben, thank you for your contributions. Muyiwa also, thank you for your contributions. We'll have to call it quits here at this moment. We've spent far much above our time. But it's been a very interesting and robust discussion on the performances of the Super Eagles at the World Cup. We hope to see you guys again next week when we'll be talking about something else. But for now, we'll have to say thank you for joining the Hangout and thank you for sharing your thoughts with us on this program. Once again, I am Victor Matthias, and thank you for everything. Goodbye for now.
You're welcome.